There is a dangerous lie that millions of people believe. They think that the more they know, the better their lives will become. So they buy books, watch seminars, listen to podcasts, collect certificates, fill notebooks with brilliant ideas. Yet somehow, their lives remain exactly the same. If knowledge alone could change a person, every library would be filled with successful people. Every doctor would be perfectly healthy. Every financial advisor would be wealthy. Every marriage counselor would have a flawless marriage. Clearly, there is something far more valuable than information. Dr. Myles Munroe once said, "Understanding is more important than knowledge." Those words may sound simple, but hidden inside them is one of the greatest truths you will ever discover. Today, allow me to tell you a story. Long ago, there lived an elderly craftsman whose work was admired throughout the kingdom. Kings sought his advice. Merchants traveled for weeks just to watch him work. Young apprentices begged him to teach them. Yet there was something unusual about his workshop. There were almost no books. No shelves filled with scrolls. No walls covered with complicated diagrams. One afternoon, a brilliant young scholar arrived carrying a heavy bag overflowing with books. He bowed respectfully. "Master," he said, "I have spent 15 years studying. I have read the greatest philosophers. I know hundreds of ancient teachings. I have memorized countless principles. But my life refuses to change." The old craftsman smiled gently. He did not answer. Instead, he handed the young man a simple wooden axe. "Split that log." The scholar frowned. "I didn't come here to chop wood. I came for wisdom." The old man looked into his eyes. So did the wood. Confused, the young man lifted the axe. He swung with all his strength. The blade struck the log and bounced away. Again, and again, and again. After several exhausting attempts, he collapsed onto a nearby stump. "I don't understand." The old craftsman picked up the axe. He examined the blade. Then he quietly asked, "When was the last time this was sharpened?" The young scholar stared silently. "It wasn't." The old man nodded. "You knew how to swing, but you never understood the tool." Then he added words the young man would never forget. "Effort without understanding creates frustration." Think about your own life. How many people work harder every year, yet never move forward? They blame bad luck, the economy, their family, their employer, their past. But sometimes, the problem is much simpler. We are trying harder, instead of understanding better. Many people know what to do. Very few understand why it works. That difference changes everything. The following morning, the old craftsman took the young scholar to the village marketplace. Hundreds of people filled the streets. Some shouted. Some argued. Some sold expensive goods. Others rushed from one place to another. The old man pointed toward 3 different people. The first was a physician. He constantly warned people about healthy living. Yet during his lunch break, he smoked several cigarettes. The second was a wealthy merchant. He understood every rule of investing. Yet his family barely spoke to him because he had neglected them for decades. The third was a teacher admired across the kingdom. His students respected him deeply. Yet every evening he drank alone because he had never learned how to find peace within himself. The old craftsman turned to the scholar. "What do they all have in common?" The young man answered, "They all possess knowledge." The old man smiled. "But something is missing." "What?" "Application." That afternoon, they returned to the workshop. The old craftsman drew 3 circles in the sand. Above the first circle he wrote, Knowledge. Above the second. Understanding. Above the third. Wisdom. He looked at the young men. Most people spend their lives trapped inside the first circle. They collect facts. They memorize information. They become impressive speakers. But information alone has never transformed anyone. He pointed to the second circle. This is understanding. It is where information finally begins to make sense. It is where confusion disappears. Then he touched the final circle. And this is wisdom. It is the moment truth begins changing the way you live. The scholar stood silently. For the first time, he realized he had confused learning with growing. Dr. Myles Munroe often taught that knowledge is information. Understanding is comprehension. And wisdom is application. That simple progression explains why two people can hear exactly the same message, yet live completely different lives. One leaves inspired. The other leaves transformed. The difference is never what they heard. The difference is what they understood, and what they chose to do afterwards. Several weeks later, the old craftsman invited the scholar back to the forest. This time, he handed him another axe. Before swinging, the young man examined the blade. He sharpened it carefully. He checked the angle. He positioned the log correctly. Then, with one clean strike, the wood split perfectly. The old craftsman laughed. You see, you didn't become stronger. You became wiser. That lesson reaches far beyond chopping wood. Some people keep changing jobs when they should change their habits. Some keep changing relationships when they should change their understanding. Others change cities, businesses, or churches without realizing they have carried the same thinking with them. You can change your environment 100 times, but until your understanding changes, your results often remain the same. One evening the scholar asked, "Master, why do so many intelligent people make foolish decisions?" The old craftsman smiled. Because intelligence and wisdom are not twins. A man may know every map in the world and still become lost. He may memorize every recipe and never cook a meal. He may own every book about forgiveness and continue living with bitterness. Knowledge fills the mind. Wisdom changes the life. Years passed. The scholar eventually became one of the kingdom's finest teachers. People admired the simplicity of his words. Whenever they praised his intelligence, he gently corrected them. It wasn't knowledge that changed me. It was understanding. And understanding only became valuable when I finally applied it. Before you leave today's scroll, carry these 5 truths with you. First, never mistake information for transformation. Knowing something is not the same as living it. Second, understanding removes frustration. Many struggles disappear the moment you truly understand the problem. Third, wisdom begins where excuses end. Truth has no power until it changes your actions. Fourth, the greatest teachers do more than fill your mind. They help you see differently. And finally, do not measure your life by how much you know. Measure it by how much your knowledge has changed the person you have become. Dr. Myles Munroe devoted much of his ministry to helping people move beyond information into genuine understanding. His reminder still echoes today. Knowledge informs. Understanding illuminates. But wisdom transforms. Until our next scroll, do not chase information merely to impress others. Seek understanding. Live with wisdom. Because a single truth you apply is worth far more than 1,000 facts you